Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Sorry I haven't posted in a while, I've just been busy with life. Please make sure you like, subscribe, comment, reach out to me, bug me, doesn't matter. So for today's video, we'll just kind of roll into it here. I found a video on YouTube here by a gentleman by the name of Fly with Trent. Seems like to be like a good dude, and he seems to be helping out quite a bit. I'll leave a link to his channel below. It's about aviation and how to get, get your goals accomplished. And in one of his videos, he brings in a veteran, and they discuss how to get flight training done with your GI Bill. And there's two different routes to this. There's the Chapter 33 and the Chapter 31 benefits, which we've talked about here on the channel. And I kind of clipped and snipped and put some stuff together to kind of help alleviate any confusion, and I guess in some people's cases make more confusion. But I basically just watched the video and said, hey, whether things are good and not good. And there's a couple of small intricacies in this that are not accurate, and some of it's really misleading. But I basically put it all together and did a small reaction video to it. So anyway, guys, here it goes. And again, I'll put the link to the actual podcast or video or whatever in the description. So thanks, guys.
What the military benefits can be used for: GI Bill, Veterans Readiness and Employability, the VRE benefits. Yes, you can use the GI Bill for all of your flight certificates and training. The GI Bill will cover the private pilot's license. It will cover all of your other certs.
Okay, so far he is not wrong. The process is slightly diluted. However, it is, once you understand where to go and what to do, it's pretty straightforward. And as you'll kind of see as we go down the rabbit hole here, the VA is not going to promote it, and they don't promote it, if they do, accurately.
With the GI Bill and private pilot's license, the caveat with that is you have to be a resident student physically at the university.
All right, again, he's kind of not wrong, although he's kind of a little off. You don't have to be in person for the entire degree program of Chapter 33 benefits, GI Bill. You just have to be on campus in person for the flight training portion. So only if you're doing flight labs. Like if you're taking a class in aviation history, or you take an English class or math class, you can do those classes online, and you don't have to physically be there for all those classes. In addition to that, if you only want to take just the flight classes, you can take just the flight classes. However, some universities will require you to take another class as a prerequisite to get to the next level. So, for example, Kansas State University requires you to take, because that's the only reason I'm saying that is because that's where I'm going. They require you to pass algebra in order to be taking instrument, or you have to be co-enrolled in algebra in order to be taking their instrument rated class.
So I spent 13 years in the Army with the GI Bill benefits at my disposal, and I didn't even know that I could use it to pay for flight school. And I mean, I could have done this a lot earlier. I'm glad that I'm doing it now, but I ran into a pilot at an airline, and he was like, oh yeah, I love flying, you should fly. He's like, I think you could use some sort of military benefit to pay for flight school. And I was like, all right, I'll look into it. And it was really complicated, really convoluted. There was just really no clear guidance on it. And
all right, so he's kind of not wrong either. There, in this case, there's not a lot of guidance, and the VA website is very misleading, very, very misleading. So we'll quickly flip here to a quick Google search, and we'll go through exactly how to figure out that the VA is misleading and wrong, dare I say. And yeah, let's go do that now. So we're on the VA website here, and you could see it just here's at the top. It's va.gov. I just basically typed in on Google as like VA flight training, and essentially the main link will bring you to this right here, and it'll say, "Can I use my GI Bill to pay for flight training?" And as you know, if you watch the full video, and I'll put a link in the description for the actual video, so you can watch like a 20-minute podcast basically. But he kind of alludes to that the VA says that you can't use your GI Bill if you don't have private pilot. So it says right here, you have to have private pilot to use your GI Bill for flight training. However, do not sweat. This is not accurate. I would say probably about 30% of the time is fairly accurate, but that's not the case because remember, in this we're using post 9/11 GI Bill. So the fastest way to figure this out is whether or not you can use courses is to go to, here, I'll just start from the beginning. We'll go to Google, we'll go to WEAMS VA, we'll go to institution search. All right, so when you pull up the WEAMS website, it's going to look like this. And this is how you check across the country and the world to figure out where flight training is approved. And you're going to go under program type, you're going to go to flight. And I'm going to use Kansas as a simple example because I know for a fact. And you're going to have to search each one. And you're also going to have to call each university that has a flight school to see if they are approved for GI Bill for private pilot, because some are not in here and some are. It just kind of depends. The primary reason of WEAMS is so that Chapter 31 benefits can approve your flight training. But in this case, we're using 33 benefits, which is post 9/11 GI Bill. But typically, if it's approved in the WEAMS program, it's approved for Chapter 33. So I'm going to go to Kansas, make sure I had flight at the top. I'm going to go to Kansas State University. I'm going to go to programs. I'm going to go back to flight. And if you'll notice here, private pilot flight lab. Look at that. So at Kansas State University, the private pilot flight lab is covered, which means you can get your private pilot license here using GI Bill.
And after my in-person flight training is done, I can continue on the degree plan, go be a CFI, and finish my degree online while I'm doing my CFI work.
So why isn't that on the VA website? Like, the answer doesn't seem terribly complicated. You said two things. It has to be an approved school and you have to be a resident student. Why the hell?
Unfortunately, this is a really common thing when someone says, it's because it's the VA. And I feel that guy's pain. It's for sure not exactly the easiest system to navigate. But in their defense, this is how it's broken down. And this will give you a reason why it's not exactly advertised, if you want to call it that correctly. So when veteran benefits are put under scrutiny or put down on paper, it comes from Congress. And it comes in the form of a United States Code, a USC. And that sets the roof, or the highest that it can go for benefits. One step down from that, the individual agency works with Congress or whoever to help delineate and help trickle down what those actual United States codes mean and how they're applied. And those are called CFRs, Code of Federal Regulations. Then from the CFR level, it's broken down even further to the individual agency who breaks down what their interpretation is of the CFRs and of the United States codes. So the VA has a handbook that allows them to really dive into and say how and what and why they can advertise to whatever the program is. Basket weaving, welding, driving, flying, that's how they do it. The problem with aviation is it's a very complicated system because you're involving Congress, FAA, you're involving, and within FAA, you've got 3 different categories now. You've got fixed wing, rotary wing, and UAS, and those all have to be covered under GI Bill. Then you're dealing with the colleges themselves, and you're dealing with the flight school portion of it. You're dealing with insurance, and then also you're dealing with what's known as an SSA, the state, or SAA, state approving agency. And the state approving agency is basically the go-between between the VA, Congress, and the FAA, and kind of like the last central hub, and they kind of say what's approved and what's not approved, but they kind of do and don't. So I can see why he's kind of like, well, it's the VA. It's not necessarily the VA because they're the lowest guys kind of on the totem pole. They're just there. The VA is only there to just approve the checks and make sure the money goes to the right people at the right time and make sure there's no fraud. And I say make sure because we all know in government, there's wasteful spending.
College to do that with.
Okay.
And not all colleges will. Not all colleges will accept the GI Bill for their flight program. So you got to really do your digging, do your due diligence. But it's tens and tens of thousands of dollars worth of money saved to do just some homework. And and that's why I recommend any military veteran, active duty or prior service that's interested in any aspect of aviation, even ANPs or mechanics or radio control, ATC controllers. I recommend them to go onto RTAG Nation and get connected and use the search key because a lot of this has already been talked about.
Well, RTAG is a good place to start. If you're looking for more of a personalized approach to the RTAG, you can always like, subscribe, comment here on the channel. You can send me a DM and I'll get back to you directly.
So when someone decides, for someone who's watching this and they're thinking, hey, this is great. I didn't know this. I want to go do this. And they run into that first roadblock of people telling them no. What do they do next? What's this RTAG thing that's on your shirt? Because I'm assuming that's the great resource.
It is. I would go there and I would find somebody that went through it. I didn't have to go. I came to the school with my private pilot's license, so it was a lot easier for me. But you just got to be persistent. You got to tell them to go get their supervisor.
All right, so I wouldn't just call up a college and be like, hey, I know you don't know what you're talking about. Go get your supervisor. I wouldn't do that. So the way I would, and I know he doesn't mean this like in a negative way. He's just trying to say like, hey, you gotta go talk to someone else besides the first person you get on the phone. So typically what you want to do is you just call whatever college you want to talk to. It's known as again, like I've said before in other videos, an IHL, an institution of higher learning. You want to go, when you call that school to do your research, you want to ask whoever answers the phone first if you could talk to someone who is in charge of the veterans group there on campus, or a flight student that is helping the veterans on campus. And they're typically going to be able to explain to you more in depth about what's going on, how to get applied, etc. Don't tell the person on the phone to go get their supervisor. That probably won't help you out so much. But I get where he's saying, like, and this is what at least I interpret, or the way I understand it is, he's trying to basically say like, hey, the first person you're going to get on the phone is probably not going to know. You need to really talk to someone who's familiar with the program and has been around for a while.
Like, I wouldn't go to the VA first. Make sure you get your benefits ready to go. Then go to the school and say that I want to use my GI Bill for private pilot's license. The first person you talk to, most likely they're going to say no. And then ask them to get their supervisor. They're going to have to do some digging. You might have to call 5-10 times. If I were them, I would go into RTAG Nation and I would find somebody that's already been through it, somebody that's currently using their private pilot's license at a university, and I'd ask them, what did they do? Who did they talk to? And that's the route I would go. Finding a mentor that's been there, done that. You know what I mean?
All right, so he makes actually a really, really good point here. Two things. One, having a mentor or someone you align with socially, politically, in this industry or space is really, really smart. You're going to find times during the training that it's not going to be easy. You're not going to understand concepts. You have a problem with skills. It is really important that you network, because you're not going to be able to get through aviation on your own. And then, excuse me. The other thing you need to understand too is not every flight school or college follows RTAG. I don't follow RTAG. I don't necessarily subscribe to them. I don't think they're bad, but I just don't. I've been able to find out this and then more without them by doing my own research. But my flight school, we don't follow RTAG. We've got about 100 veterans in our program, and pretty much no one follows RTAG. RTAG doesn't. They have the only thing they're really good for, at least tangible wise that I understand, is the conference every year. When you've got your private instrument, commercial, CFI, and you've done the minimum amount of times, you want to go to their conference down in Texas, I think is where they had last year. Actually, at the time of this video, I think they have it this weekend. Today's Thursday. And that's how you network in, because they've got some corporate level sponsors. But until you're ready to reach that level, the RTAG group is limited in scope. Other than if you need specific help with something, it's probably better to talk to someone locally at your college.
You can't do your private pilot's license at the Part 141 with your benefits. You can do the rest. However...
All right, so in this section of the video, and I kind of edited out, excuse me, clipped some stuff out of there, he's talking about the differences between Part 61 and Part 141 and what you can and can't do. And he's correct in his video, and like I said, I'll have the full description below, and you can go check the video out, is you cannot use Part 61 flight schools, which is like your mom and pop, go down to a local airport, talk to Bob. You cannot use that for individual instruction, and you cannot use that for your private pilot license. However, as you're going to see here, as you're seeing, he just mentions that you can't use your GI Bill benefits at a Part 141 school to get your private pilot's license. That is incorrect as well. As long as it's in a WEAMS approved school, it can be covered. So the University of Vermont, Kansas State University, and I think the University of North Dakota, and there's a couple other schools. You're going to have to go through the WEAMS program and check, but they allow private pilot to be covered under GI Bill.
Really wanted to accomplish with this, and I think that we have, is one, making other people aware of the fact that despite the fact that the VA website says, no, you can't use it for your private pilot's license, and many schools will tell you, no, you can't. You're saying that you can, and you know people that you can.
To confirm what he's saying, yeah, he's right. I'm one of those guys. I did not have my private pilot's license. I went to Kansas State University. I got my private pilot license through them, using my GI Bill benefits the whole way through. And it also covered, you can also get your check ride and your written exam reimbursed. So the fuel to get to the check ride, the airplane cost for the check ride, the DPE cost, and the written exam are all reimbursable through the VA using your GI Bill benefits. You just, the one caveat to that is every time you take a check ride or a written exam, you burn a month of GI Bill benefits. So, and you have up to a year to submit for that reimbursement. So if it's after a year, you cannot get your private pilot or your whatever rating you're going for, whether it be instrument, commercial, seaplane. After a year, you can't get the reimbursement for those check rides and the written exams.
There's schools out there, so you definitely want to do your homework. My school, I'm able to do my flight training up front, and then I can do the rest of the degree online. So I'm in person flying, and then after my in-person flight training is done, I can continue on the degree plan, go be a CFI, and finish my degree online while I'm doing my CFI work.
So why isn't that on the VA website? Like, the answer doesn't seem terribly complicated. You said two things. It has to be an approved school and you have to be a resident student. Why the hell isn't that on the VA website?
All right, so two things in this this clip. One, and I kind of edited it out just because we're getting pretty high up, 15, 20 minutes in the video, and I know you guys have better things to do. First thing is he's going to a school called Liberty University, and Liberty University is a university, or an IHL, Institution of Higher Learning, in Virginia. Now, Liberty University used to be like the place to go if you wanted to do your flight training at a different location. And you just basically do a parent letter and you'd be able to go back and forth, but you'd have to take their online courses, like their ground course, and they would be partnered up with a local flight school under what's called an FTA, a flight training affiliate. That is not authorized. It says it's not authorized by institutions of higher learning. So Liberty University was kind of like doing some shady stuff and getting veterans to be authorized to do flight training at other locations. And what ended up happening is the VA, through the state approving agency, stepped in and cut the acceptance for Liberty University doing veteran flight training. In this article from The Hill, it says, bottom line, Liberty University lobbies up to reinstate suspended flight program. It says here, Liberty University hired 2 branch strategies to lobby on issues related to veteran affairs and its recently suspended flight program. The Evangelical Christian University in Lynchburg, VA, had its flight program suspended over the summer. Liberty hired the firm in November to connect staff to members of the House Veterans Affairs Subcommittee on Economic Opportunity and discuss reinstating the program according to the new registration. The lobbyist is Ray Kelly, a former senior advisor and liaison for the Secretary of Affairs and majority staff director for the House Veterans Affairs Committee. It says here, Williams and Jensen also registered to lobby on compliance and support for higher education on behalf of Liberty University. Susan, I apologize, can't pronounce her name, Chief of Staff for the House Majority Whip between 1997 and 2002, will work on the account. So Liberty University has had, last I knew, its VA stuff suspended. So you have to be physically in state of Virginia in order to get stuff approved by Liberty University for flight training. All right, so then the second thing in this last clip is that he's talking about why it's not on the VA website. We covered that based on USC's, CFR's, handbooks, 5 different 1,000 organizations on there. We've covered that you can get your private pilot's license through university. You just need to be there to do the flight training. But at the end of the day, like, the state approving agency has the final rule on what programs are approved and what programs aren't. And there's a ton of codes and regulations on how a flight school can get approved for that. And essentially what it needs to be is a Part 141 flight school. So if you know Bob down the street and he's got a flight school and he's got 4 or 5 airplanes, he can convert his Part 61 flight school to a Part 141 flight school, and then he can get approved in order to do that, and then he could start taking GI Bill funding. But the way you could check within your state for that is to go on the WEAMS program, WEAMS, WEAMS, and you can search via that state. So if you do already have your private pilot, you can get your instrument, your commercial, your CFI. You can go and get multi-engine. You can get seaplane single and multi-engine. You can get them as a commercial add-on. That's in Louisiana at Southern Seaplane. They accept GI Bill, and you can do all that. However, the other big caveat is if you're under Chapter 31 benefits, and this is what I've said in other videos, you can start at a university or an institution of higher learning, get your private under Chapter 33 benefits, and then switch to Chapter 31 benefits, and then you'll be able to go all the way 0 to hero, pretty much to your ATP rating covered. The big thing with that is you need to make sure you have a 10% rating in order to get accepted into Chapter 31 VR&E, and that's the golden ticket. They'll give you an iPad, they'll give you a brand new Bose 830 headset, based on your disabilities and what you need in the airplane. And the other thing about Chapter 31 benefits is it's their job to get you a job in aviation. The GI Bill does not do that. It's there just to get you a college degree and no further. So like I've said in other videos, get your Chapter 33 benefits for private pilot and then immediately switch to Chapter 31 benefits, and then you'll be able to go the whole 9 yards. In addition to this, here's a really nice kicker, is once you graduate the bachelor's degree program under the Chapter 31 benefits, your VR&E counselor will reimburse your Chapter 33 benefits. So your GI Bill will get pushed back up to 100%, and then you can take your GI Bill benefits and go knock out some other stuff that you want to do using your GI Bill. You can go get a whole nother degree. You can go get your master's degree with it. You can go be a test pilot. The limitations are, there pretty much isn't any at that point. So, yeah, that's pretty much the react to this video. If you guys need anything or want anything, please reach out to me. My Instagram handle is in the description below. You can leave a comment below, and here in a few weeks I'll probably have another video because I've got some really interesting news coming up, and it should be good. So stay tuned, guys. Thanks for following.